13.4. I hope we all saw it. In the presentation, Professor, you skimmed over it. If I was the one presenting, I was going to only write 13.4 because I hope members saw it. Because it is such a powerful that you chose me, and I'm so honored to be here to talk about a subject which I believe is close to many of our hearts. Money is one of those very interesting subjects, and I believe why it's very interesting is because it is one which you fully understand when you are going through it. When you are going through it. When I was here, I didn't have children. I have more respect for January nowadays because I have children, isn't it? So when I was in school, I didn't worry about January. January came and it was a fun time for me. Right now, as a father, January comes and I worry. I say, where is the school fees going to come from? So when you think about money, that's what makes it unique. And today we want to discuss a topic called retirement. Retirement is an interesting topic because it is a topic which we don't know exactly how to prepare for nowadays, isn't it? How many of us saw an article 3 weeks ago, and which said that jobs of USAID funded organizations at risk? Did we see that article in the newspapers? It was a headline. Now, can you imagine for a moment being told today that your job has ended? It's over. You possibly work in one of the most stable employers in the country right now, because the employers who choose that they can end your work at a moment's what? Notice. So when we discuss the topic called retirement, it is kind of very unique right now because of the kind of the volatility of the workplace. The workplace is very volatile. And I hope that as we go through our conversation today, we can take a moment and really appreciate how we can walk this journey at a very individual level. Allow me to start by thanking your leadership. Please give your leadership a big hand clap. I don't know whether you noticed when Professor was speaking, he said that your principal or your chief sponsor is up to date. That means your money is in the what? Is in the account, isn't it? Shouldn't we be clapping for that? It's such a big moment when a fund like this one is actually up to date, because the first thing we worry about is the money there. But did you see a number called 13.4? Did we see that number? 13.4. I hope we all saw it. In the presentation, Professor, you skimmed over it. If I was the one presenting, I was going to only write 13.4 because I hope members saw it, because it is such a powerful statement. In this economy, to return 13.4 on a fund like yours is spectacular. So allow me to just request you to clap for your leadership, your trustees, for being trustworthy people and delivering the 13.4%. Those are not ordinary things, because we know that sometimes meetings like this are discussing problems which are beyond us. The fund doesn't exist. We are having problems of leadership. That is not the problem we are discussing. Today we are discussing your own personal finances. So I'll give you a brief about myself. As I've mentioned, I'm a financial literacy coach. I have the privilege of having spent the better part of the last 13, 14 years working very closely with small and medium businesses, working closely with Ugandans, specifically in the space of personal finance. I work with an institution called Enterprise Uganda, where I lead operations. I also run a farm called Geuka Africa, and we do personal financial training specifically in that farm. And I am a student of money. I've spent the last 15 years trying to understand why is money complex. And I'll tell you why. I was a statistics, and the first job I was given was with one of the audit firms. I was so excited. The audit firms came and put us in the main hall up there, and I was one of the people privileged to get the job. And after getting the job, they were paying us what seemed like a very good amount of money. I felt like I was the highest paid person I knew, at least amongst my friends. And they were paying us we were taking home about 500,000 shillings. And I remember that moment, I felt like this money is just too much. And why did I feel that way? I was living at home and I was paid 500,000 shillings, and my parents hadn't thrown me out of house. So I was living, our home is somewhere on Rubaga Road, very close to the city. And that 500,000 shillings was a big deposit. And the first decision I made when I got my 500,000 shillings was to leave home. So I left home, like all fathers tell their children, go and become a what? A man. So I indeed went and became a what? Man. So I left home, and since I was living on Rubaga Road, you could literally walk into the city. However, when I left, I started living in Mutundwe, and I got my first two expenses. The first expense was rent, because I was no longer living at what? At home. Half of the money went to rent. The next expense was called transport. So I had to transport myself to the workplace. And within a couple of months, I noticed that my salary was not enough. And I started telling my boss that I think this thing can't work. What can 500 do in Kampala, isn't it? Now, I want you to turn to your neighbor, especially those of you in the room, and tell them what was wrong with that decision. Was it a good decision? My mother here says that it was a perfect decision. I became a man, I left and went and faced the what? The world, isn't it? How many people disagree that it wasn't a good decision? There's one hand at the back. Why? Yes, sir. But I had not developed myself to be what?
No, to spend all that money.
I had not developed myself to spend all that what? All that money. Now, friends, we need to think about it very carefully. This is a young man who has just got a salary, which he didn't have, isn't it? And his first decision is to take 400,000 shillings out of the 500, give to someone else, isn't it? And I want to tell you, I'm the last born in my family. I wasn't chaste, but I needed to become a what? Man. My question to you is, who had to teach me about money, aside from life? Pardon? Who had to tell me that there is something wrong with that decision? And I'll tell you why the decision was wrong. I was living in a place where I didn't have transport and I didn't have rent. I actually could have taken that 400,000 and given it to my parents, but I gave it to a what? To a landlord, isn't it? And from that moment on, everything was a struggle, isn't it? Now, I want to submit to you that as we start this conversation, it is possible that you can live your entire financial life, but the only lessons you have learned are from life. No, we didn't get a structured class. No one challenged me to say, why don't you start a small saving with that 500,000, isn't it? And I didn't have children. I didn't have responsibility. We're on the same page. And as the journey keeps moving, you quickly notice that it becomes tougher and tougher. Today, your scheme has a voluntary scheme, isn't it? But when we say that, can you add 5%? People say, where is 5% going to what? Come from, isn't it? Not that the 5% wouldn't get the 13.4 benefit, but You are caught up in a very difficult chain. Some people call it the rat what? Race. Are we on the same page? So as we have this conversation, I want you to reflect on yourself as an individual, not as the scheme, but as an individual. So let's go. So our title, I don't know whether the slides, right. So, right, there they go. Good. So the first question I want to ask you, should one retire? We make an assumption that we should, but should we retire? How many say we should retire? How many say no, we shouldn't retire? At least there are people who believe they shouldn't. What? It's an important question. The university says you retire at 60, at 65, at 70. What do you say? Do you agree with the university? Because the university can retire you from this job, but should you retire? Are we on the same page? As we discuss retirement, I want to start with that central question. Should you what? Retire. There are many here who believe when the university announces that 60 has reached, you have served your nation and that is it. Are we on the same page? There are those who are still in this room who believe that when the university announces that 60 has reached, you will quickly say, now let me start a new journey on my what? On my own. So as we start the conversation on retirement, the first central question I want you to ask yourself and answer it for yourself. How will you behave when the retirement what? Comes? When I was finishing my final year here, I finished my final year in 2005. My mother retired that year, and I'm the last born. So when she was retiring, she called all of us together. You know, when someone is about to tell you, my life has ended. So she called all of us together. She said, you people have worked hard. I've educated all of you. Even Ronnie here is in what? He's finishing university. I have finished. It seemed like she was dying. That's how the speech went, isn't it? That was 2005. 20 years later, she's still going strong. Have you appreciated that point? So don't be deceived. Retirement is such a long period of time. It is long. It is long. And you need to ask yourself, should I what? Retire. So on our journey, there are a couple of things which we need to get done. Most of us, you need to educate your children. Most of us, you need to build a home. Most of us, you say, you know what, I need to get a job. Most of you have, all of you here, you are here because you have a what? A job. But I wanted to paint a picture that these basic things, sometimes retirement comes and actually you haven't ticked the boxes. Are we on the same page? A box like a home. The home may not what? Exist. And that creates a problem. Why does it create a problem? It creates a problem because the home is not what? It's not there. Some of us might have the privilege of having a house here at the university. Very few now do, I think. But if the privilege is there, where exactly do you go when you what? They are very basic questions. And as we reflect on this topic, it is critical that as an individual, you ask yourself, have I answered these what? These questions. The other one I want to take interest in is this thing called debt. Are you going to retire with a loan? Are you going to retire with the what? With the loan. One of the things we are going to talk about today, we are going to discuss and say, if the loans are there, you need to find a way of making sure they what? They disappear. Because you can't retire with them. And if you do, it's a dangerous journey which you are what? Which you are on. So the other idea I want to share with you is that you are in the pinnacle of knowledge in this country. in spite of which university someone goes to, all of us, we know what Makerere, the brand of Makerere means, isn't it? That means that all your relatives know that you work with what? With Makerere. So even when you go back to the village, they ask you, how is Makerere? In spite of the job you do. Are we on the same page? And that means that your retirement is going to be assessed as a Makerere employee. We would have forgiven you if you are coming from another place, but we are going to watch you very closely. So you worked at Makerere for 30 years. How comes you are having trouble buying a newspaper? And by the way, those are not going to be my words. Every village you go to has a village drunkard. Do you know the village drunkard? Every village has a village drunkard. Now, the village drunkard knows that you work in Makerere, isn't it? And every year he does some monitoring and evaluation on you. He knows you are growing. So every year when you come back, he says, how are things in what? In Makerere. But he's also watching whether some trees are growing on your land, whether a house is coming up on your land. He's watching carefully, isn't it? So imagine the speech the village drunkard will make if you return to the village and you join him in his life, isn't it? Because the village drunkard has nothing, and everyone in the village knows that he has nothing, isn't it? We talk about him, that's the village what? Drunkard. However, the village drunkard will be surprised that you are having nothing with him. Do you get it? Because if the village drunkard has nothing, he asks you, do you have anything? You say, I also have nothing. He will say, why did you go through Makerere to have nothing like me? So the village drunkard expects you to have what? Something, isn't it? However, if you appear and the village drunkard does nothing and you have joined him and you are in Makerere, he's going to see, you say, education is useless. He has nothing. I also have what? Nothing. Are we on the same page? So next time you are looking for your M&E officer on your personal finances, it is the village drunkard. He's watching very carefully about how you are moving. He looks at you and keeps saying what progress has been what? Has been made. Because for all of us, you have reached the promised what? Land. You need to understand that this job you hold, for most of us, it is what we are asking for, isn't it? So when you talk about people who are in this space, in the academia, this is the top. This is where you go to the what? So you are living in the promised land. We need to be able to see that even in your retirement, you actually live a life as one who lived in the what? In the promised land. So there are three questions which we are going to discuss today. The first question is, shall I make it? Some people's approach to retirement is that I will not get there. They say, why worry about retirement? I may not what? Make it. And it's valid. By a show of hands, how many of us know what Uganda's life expectancy is? I know there are statisticians in the room, but what's Uganda's life expectancy? Okay, for the people who didn't put up their hands, how many of you think Uganda's life expectancy is 50? Vote, the people who didn't put up their hands. How many think it's 50? How many think it's 55? How many think it's 60? How many think it's 40? There are some people who think it's actually much less. Uganda's life expectancy today, this question of shall I what? Make it, is 60 what? 6. Now I want this to be a very practical session. So I want you to take out your phone and you get 66 and subtract your age. Those of you who are quick mathematicians, you can do it in your head. Have you got the number? Has the number locked in your mind? What age is it? Some of us, it is 16. Some of us, it is 20. Some of us, it's 20 what? 5. Now, for us to appreciate why we have this conversation, I want you to appreciate that you, who is not an average Ugandan because you work with Makerere University, you are 15 years away from the life what? Expectancy. Now, the next question you need to ask yourself is, which side of the life expectancy do you think you will fall? Do you think you will go up to 80? Because these things are averages. That's what the statisticians tell us, isn't it? So chances are very high that you may actually live until 20. Has that sunk in? You will be around up to 20 what? 50. And that's for someone who is 50 years old now. You will be around up to 20 what? 50. If you are going to be around up to 2050, you will see a Kampala which has started to look like Lagos today. Kampala's population will possibly be the population of what? Of Lagos. You are going to be alive. And why this is important is because many people think it's not an important topic. But retirement is an important topic because the academics here who you have, the experts at population growth, are telling us that chances are very high that you who are in the room, you will be around in 2050. And that's the spectrum you are planning for. If you are 40, you could be around up to 2060. And for me, when that sinks in, you appreciate that chances are very high that you will make it to what? Retirement. You will be there. And the fact that you will make it, that is why the conversation we are having today is important. What package will you have? What package will you have? That's the question we are here to ask. Because the truth is, the evidence shows you will be what? You will be there. So if we are going to make it to that point, we need to challenge ourselves and know that actually when they tell us about things like boosting the package which you have, they are telling us that when this time comes, we need to be better prepared. That number there, I hope it sticks. 66. Are we there? It's a very important number. So, what do we need to do to be able to make it? First thing is to be healthy. I'm told your last session you talked about what? Health. It's an important thing. Health is a personal finance issue. Actually, being healthy in your old age may be the best investment you will make. And that being healthy means that you do it right now. Are we on the same page? So being healthy is important. And we talked about it in the last session. The next thing which is important is strengthening relationships. This is also an investment in your retirement package. And I hope that the next session discusses this specifically. Friends, one of the reasons why you need to treat your family well is because they are the only ones who will be around in your retirement. And no matter which title you have, you could be professor and this university will forget you. There are professors who sat in that office and now they can walk in and you don't recognize them. And they were here. In the 90s, they were the top dogs, isn't it? And today you don't what? Recognize them. So as you plan for your retirement, you need to invest in your relationships. And I'll speak specifically to men. Us men, we are the ones who don't do this thing very well. Have you noticed that most children, even boys, they look after their mothers? Have you noticed? Even the boys who are in the room, many men in this, you send money to your what? To your mother. So if you are a man, you are an endangered species. Because if you don't treat your wife well, your children will send a ticket to your what? You know, some of your children are going to be very successful. They will go and live in the US. But they will send a ticket to their mother to visit. Your ticket won't come. Actually, the only way you get onto the list of people to go is how you treat their mother, isn't it? Because their mother is going. But will you be part of it? Friends, we need to understand that why does this fit into this conversation? It fits into this conversation because if you don't manage the relationships, even though you have the money, retirement will be what? Painful. Are we on the same page? So you need to deposit in here. Make sure that the relationships are working. Keep some friends. Keep some friends. The people who know you before you had all your titles, they are very important because they are the people who you work with. Invest in this social capital. It is actually good retirement planning. The second question we need to ask is, what shall I do? This is another very important question. It goes back to the first question I asked you, should you retire? Friends, we need to understand that since retirement is long, you need to find something very clear that you can do during your retirement. Sometimes that thing may actually be able to bring money. Most of us, we are very passionate about agriculture. If you're going to do agriculture, this is the time when you start it. So that you say, during my retirement, that is what I will what? I will do. So what shall I do? That question is answered now. It's part of your retirement planning. What shall I do? If I said I'm going into business, can I go into business? Have I started something now which I can be able to join? Most of us may not choose to do. Some people choose to say, I'm spending my entire retirement with my grandchildren. It's valid. But that means you have a good relationship with their parents, isn't it? So you need to determine what you shall what? And make sure that that question is answered. One of the challenges of being within the walls of this great university is that everything can become about the university. And you find that all your life rotates around this place. And my challenge to you is very simple. If you have said you are going to retire into the village, is the village willing to receive you? Because you may think the village is ready for you, but it sent you away a long period of time. If you said you are going to retire into church work, is the church willing to receive you? This is critical because if it is not done now, you are not doing good retirement planning. So the third question, which is going to be the gist of our conversation, is shall I afford it? Shall I afford it? Now, friends, one of the big challenges which we have is that very few people can afford, retirement. NSSF, which is the biggest fund within the country, the statistics from NSSF show that within 18 to 24 months, the retirement package has been spent fully. 18 to what? This thing which we have been collecting for 30 years, within 18 months, it is what? It is gone. And friends, nothing is more difficult than knowing that it was there and you have eaten it and you have finished it and now you are facing life. You are facing life. That's what the statistic is. Now, the question you need to challenge yourself with, are you going to be part of those numbers? Because 18 to 16 months, 18 to 24 months, it disappears. Now, some people say that I'm not very worried. My children will look after me. It's a good argument because your testimony that you look after parents, most of you seated in this room are the children who look after your parents. But I came to you not with very good news. I came to tell you about the generation you are raising. This one which you are what? Raising. This new generation you are raising will be very surprised if you are planning to look after them. I know most of you, and I'll tell you how you test whether it's working. How many of us grew up in a household where it was okay for you to volunteer your bed when a guest came to sleep on? Wave your hands. I know most of us. Most of us grew up in households where if visitors came from the village, you withdraw from the room and you go to the sitting room, isn't it? Because the visitor has what? Has come, isn't it? How many of you have children who are willing to volunteer their beds when a visitor comes? Be honest with yourself. Do your children volunteer their beds? They're saying, Mommy, what's up? What do you mean that a visitor is taking my bed? And why are they staying with us anyway? Isn't it? Most of you know that you grew up in households where your parents, where you grew up with some people, and you didn't know that whether they were your brothers or they were not your brothers, isn't it? The household was a big what? Household. The household has shrunk now. It's a nuclear family. Now, I want you to reflect for a minute. This generation you are raising, how will it understand when you make a call that you need money for malaria? Will they understand? Be honest with yourself. Just think about your 4 children. Who is going to send the money? Because that's plan B. I may not organize my package, but my children will send something. Now, I personally believe that one of the privileges of life is to be able to share money. And most of us have that joy of giving money to our parents and our relatives, isn't it? However, for the generation you are raising, you need to be honest with yourself that it will be very surprised if they thought that that was your retirement plan. They will not agree with you. They will actually be honest with you. So that what did you do when you were working? They say, but I paid school fees. Say, but that was your responsibility. That was your what? And you'll be a very angry old man. You'll be a very angry old man. You say, these children of nowadays, do you know how I suffered? Yes, you suffered. But you suffered for your children. And they will suffer for their children also. So you need to honestly know that retirement planning has totally changed. The retirement planning actually of many of our parents was that if I can have 5 degrees in my house, I am safe. And for them, it worked. They said, I have an engineer, I have a doctor, I have a lawyer. They looked at us, for lack of a better word, like small rental properties. Each person can bring something. We have worked. But the next generation, that is not the what? Plan. Now, friends, when we talk about shall I afford it, what we are actually saying is that the plan has shifted from the outside to the inside. You need to have a game plan as an individual. The plan has to be there. It has to be your what? Your plan. And that's what I want to talk about most of today. That the plan can't be externalized. We can't say that the plan is my family will look after me. If they do, God bless them. But if they don't, the responsibility is what? Is yours. That's at the heart of the message we are having today. So, personal finance is 80% behavior, only 20% head knowledge. The knowledge of this thing which they are telling us, annuities, saving, Very simple math. Compound interest, very simple math. But what we are dealing with is actually a behavioral challenge. Professor called it a mindset challenge. That is the battle. I'll give you an example. How many of you have heard about cryptocurrency? About cryptocurrency. How many of you have invested in cryptocurrency? Have you noticed there is no one in the room? How many of you have invested in land? Are we there? Put up your hand if you have invested in land. Most of us have invested in land. How many of you have invested in a treasury bond? Now, why is it that in the room, the majority of us have invested in land? Very few have invested in a treasury bond. Yet this fund, the bulk of its money, I don't know whether you saw when Professor was presenting, the bulk of its money came from treasury bonds. Why do we know that the bonds work and they are giving us a return, yet none of us has put our money? Why do we think so? Isn't it fascinating? We saw the presentation of Professor, isn't it? And he said that the majority of money is in what? Bonds, isn't it? We made, I think the number I remember is 14. It was the number. It's a big, big number. The return was in what? Bonds, isn't it? Yet, even with that knowledge, our behavior is completely different. All of us invest in land because that is what we are native to. So when you tell someone I'm investing in land, we understand you. If you tell someone you are investing in a bond, you have to shift an entire mindset, get them to believe it. Now, it doesn't matter that whether bonds work or they don't. They do. They're what have given your fund a big return, isn't it? But at an individual level, for you to ever get money, 10 million shillings, and buy a bond on your own is a mindset shift. Are we on the same page? So have you understood this? Someone can come and show you the numbers. The numbers work. Bonds are very good investments. But we will not behave that way because personal finance is a behavior what? So the mindset is what you are battling with. As we walk through this entire conversation, your biggest battle is a mindset battle. You are battling whether you believe. They will tell you that there is voluntary, you can put in money voluntarily, and it's returning 13.4%, but the behavior will completely be what? Different. So, for example, you have colleagues who allow their salary to spend a week on the account. And you also have colleagues in the same office where the salary can't spend 2 hours on the what? On the account, isn't it? And they earn the same amount of money. It's not an income issue, it is a behavior issue. So at an individual level, your battle is with your personal behaviors, because all of us have personal behaviors. And those personal behaviors are challenging. So you are battling a behavioral challenge, not a knowledge challenge. What are we chasing? We are chasing something called financial independence. The status of having enough income to pay one's living expenses for the rest of one's life without having to be employed or dependent on others. Now, I was doing this session for one of the banks in the city, and after the session, a driver in that bank came and talked to me. I said, you know what? I think I am approaching financial independence. He said, explain it to me. He said, you know, I earn 600,000 shillings. That's what they were taking home. He said, but I've managed to build 5 mizigo. How many? 5. The mizigo are in an L form, like this and like that, isn't it? These 4, I rent them out at 150,000 shillings each. This long one here is where I stay with my what? with my family, isn't it? How many Mizigo does he have? What is his rental income per month? Pardon? 600,000, isn't it? 150 times what? 150 times 4, isn't it? So he's earning 600,000 shillings. What was his salary? Have you noticed what he has achieved? That even though the bank said we are having restructuring and we are outsourcing drivers, who would panic more, him or his MD? Who would be more worried about the news of restructuring? Who is more worried? The what? The MD is absolutely worried, and the MD has a right to be worried because the MD also takes home 40 million, isn't it? But to be able to do what his driver has done, he needs to build 40 apartments, isn't it? And find 40 good Ugandans who pay their rent on time to give him 40 million. His children go to school, the MD's children go to school, isn't it? They go to international what? School. The driver's children also go to school at his what? 600. Whose children will be more worried when there is a restructuring? Whose children? The MD's children are worried because the school fees, $5,000. Are we on the same page? So it has nothing to do with your income. We need to chase that number. I've had the privilege of doing many of these sessions. I rarely find a Ugandan who wants to become Sudir. Very few. But I want a building on Kampala Road. Very few Ugandans. Actually, the only Ugandans I find who want to become Sudir are these young people. Whenever I come to do sessions for your students, they are saying, no, me, I'm becoming Sudir, isn't it? For us who are a bit older, we are a bit more conscious. We say, no, as long as I can be able to look after my costs and live a dignified life, I will be what? So I want you to turn to your neighbor and ask them, how far are you from the driver? Have you achieved what the driver has achieved? Are we on the same page? You need to understand that that driver has done something which is spectacular. But he can walk away from his job and his children will not notice that he has lost his job. If he has managed to fit his life within that 600,000 shillings, he can be able to walk away and peacefully run the same quality of what? Life. That's what we are talking about what we want to happen in retirement. What you want to happen in retirement is very simple. If you have been earning 1 million shillings here at the university, and you have managed to educate your children, you have managed to do all those things, all you want when you finish is that people don't know that you have retired. Because the 1 million keeps coming, isn't it? You keep masquerading in Makerere and say, you people have gone to work. They retired you, but you are comfortable, isn't it? But how comes that it could be very sad if your children and your family notices that day you are retired? You have been coming home with a loaf of bread. That's the first day a loaf of bread doesn't what? Doesn't come. Have we understood what we are trying to chase? What we are chasing in the retirement journey is that specifically. That we achieve this thing called financial what? And colleagues, I will submit to you, nothing is more difficult. It is tough to get to that point. It's tough to get to that. So that's why most people, when they retire, you have to downgrade. If you had a car, you go back to the taxi. You have to keep going down. You can't maintain the quality of life you had. So that is the goal. And I wanted to make that very clear. Now, for you to be able to achieve this success, you need to have an offensive and defensive strategy. How many of us here, you like football? You enjoy football? Football lovers, please put up your hands, a couple of them. Yeah. Now, this question is for the people who didn't put up their hands. How many of you don't have anything for football? They are the ones I wanted to explain to. But do you know any football player? What name comes to mind? For the people who don't like football, which names do you hear in football? Pardon? Eh? I hear Messi. Which names? Ronaldo. Which names? Eh? Onyango. Yes. Onyango for sure. But chances are very high that if you don't enjoy football, the names which you hear are names of strikers. That's usually what you hear. You hear of Ronaldo, Messi, Saka. They are people who score what? Goals. In your financial journey, you have to behave like a football team. You need to score, that's offensive, and you need to avoid being scored. That is what? Defensive. Now, for you to retire well, you need to play good offensive and good what? Defensive. You can't say, I will only defend. You can't win. You have to play good what? Offensive. What is offensive? Talk about offensive first. Offensive is what you are here to do. You are in Makerere to play offensive for your personal finances. So that money comes into the what? The pocket. It is critical that when you are here, you do everything possible to make sure that money is coming into your what? Your pocket. And I'll challenge you here. We need to understand that money coming in, the greatest gift is work. You graduate over 40,000 students, isn't it? Every year. What is the biggest worry as they walk out of here? What is their biggest worry? What is your biggest worry as the people who have educated them? Isn't it the same worry? You're saying, I had a class of 100. Where are they going to what? To go. Are we on the same page? So when you have work, you need to understand that you have a gift. And friends, part of personal financial management is making sure that when you are working, you squeeze all the juice out of the opportunity, isn't it? How many of you have ever seen someone who chews a sugar cane and when he throws it out, it falls into pieces? Those are people who know how to eat a sugar cane, isn't it? You know, some people eat a sugar cane, they throw it there, they steal juice. But some people, they eat it, it comes out, it is in what? When you are here to work, you have to squeeze all the juice out. Are we on the same page? So what is the message here? You are not here to work for your boss. You're not here to work for your supervisor. You are here to work for who? For yourself. And how do you squeeze all the juice out? The strategy is very simple. Give value, pursue excellence, and continuously what? Improve. Do you see the 4 people there? Who is the first one? Who is the second one? Mondi, he's a Kenyan comedian. Who is the third one? Dr. Mitch, isn't it? Who is the 4th one? Who is the 5th one? Warren Buffett. All these people share one thing in common. They are very good at what they do. And they are all paid. I'm going to tell you a story about the guy in the middle, Dr. Mitch. Dr. Mitch was here. He was one of the first people to work in media. You know, they used to live in Livingston. When my older brother was here, they were in the same hall. So, Dr. Mitch is actually a veterinary doctor. However, he went into the media space. So at my workplace at Enterprise Uganda about 10 years ago, we had a youth conference and we wanted to get the best MC in the city. We settled on 3 people and we settled on Dr. Mitch. I was the coordinator. So I went to Dr. Mitch. I told him, Mitch, it's you we want to be our MC. He said, I will be available. He asked me many questions. I took him through. Finally, I asked him, Dr. Mitch, how much shall it be? He told me it shall be 5. I told him 5 what? He said 5 million shillings. I told him, Dr. Mitch, you are coming at 6 and at 10 you will have finished. He said it will be 5 million shillings. I went back to my boss. My boss is a guy called Ochichi. Some of you may know him. Ochichi is a high energy guy. So I told Mr. Ochichi, Mitch is coming, but he wants 5 million shillings. Mr. Ochichi picked up the phone, talked to Mitch for about 15 minutes. After talking to him, he put down the phone. He said, you know what, Ronald? We are paying Mitch 5 million shillings. I told him, Mr. Ochichi, it is 5 million shillings. He said, yes, we are paying him 5 million shillings. Now you need to understand why this was very painful to me. Because I am also a very hardworking staff. Me, I'm very hardworking. I was working for a whole month. I wasn't getting what? This African was coming for one evening. And he was picking how much? 5 million shillings. Indeed, he came. We were at the Renzori Ballroom. It was amazing. Everything was great. He did a great job. He would switch from English to French. We had about 23 countries in the room. It was amazing. Everyone said, this is top class. We didn't expect this in Uganda. We were happy. 2 days later, I took Mitch the check of 5 million shillings. I gave it to Mitch. He received it. I said, Mitch, you have taken it. He said, I've taken it. 5 million shillings. And in that moment, I noticed one of the most important lessons about personal finance. That if you are the best at what you do, you will always be overpaid. Should I say it again? If you are the best at what you do, you will always be overpaid. Friends, you need to understand that the job you hold is your key to winning in money. If this university here has an estates department, there is another university which also has an estates department. If you are the best estates manager, they will look for you. They will call you yourself and say, it is you we what? We want. It doesn't matter what the job is. And one of the biggest mistakes we make in personal finance is to be average at our workplace. Because it destroys your opportunity to squeeze juice out of it. That evening, I got a lesson about money. This fellow took my entire, more than my pay in a month. He took it in one what? One evening. And I want to tell you, it doesn't matter what your job title is here. There is someone paid 5 times your salary in this world. Sometimes 10 times. If you are lecturing here, you are a professor here, the question you need to ask yourself, is that the University of Malawi available? Are you the visiting lecturer there? Is news going around the whole of the country that, the whole of Africa, that if you want the best plant scientist, they are seated in what? In Makerere. Because people will send you a ticket. They will put you into a hotel room and they will pay you a lot of money in 1 week to come and talk to them. Are we on the same page? If you are the one in charge of cleaning this hall, are people in the main building asking for you? As the vice chancellor taken interest, they say the halls are average, but the person who cleans Yusuf Lule, they are exceptional, isn't it? How many of you have ever, and no matter what the job is, if you are cleaning, you clean in such a way that the professor who comes to teach says, you know what, can you also pass by my home and clean it? Because the way you clean is what? It's separate. The professor will give you 50,000. That's how you get the money into the what? Pocket. So before we discuss saving, the first thing you need to ask yourself, are you 100%? Ask your neighbor, are you operating at 100%? People are not turning to their neighbors. They are looking at me. Are you operating at 100%? Because I can promise you, one of the quickest ways of getting money into your pocket is by improving your performance. There are people who have been in this university who have gone out and they have taken professorships in certain places. And they have paid amazing amounts of money. Why? The marketplace is very fair. If you are excellent, we look for you. But you also need to understand that the marketplace is brutal on the average person. This new marketplace, have you people heard what is happening in USAID programs? These people who, they are saying, this work, you were 5, can't 2 people do it? Are we on the same page? It's happening. The marketplace is brutal on the person who is average. But it is very rewarding on the person who is excellent. What do you do as an individual? You say, I'm going to be super. Now, I don't know what job you do. All of us come from different departments. But make sure that news is going around the university that if you are looking for an electrician, this is your guy. And if it needs you to go back for more training, go for it. But make sure that you are excellent. Because excellence helps money come into the what? That is how we score. Sometimes you can't save because there is nothing to what? To save. But don't leave money on the table. Don't leave money on the table. There is money which is there for you, but they only give it to you if you are what? If you're excellent. Are we on the same page? Allow me to turn gears to the defensive, which will be our final part. The defensive side, on the other hand, is different. It's about making sure that money doesn't leave your what? Your pockets. For those of us who are football lovers, even though you score 5 goals and the opponent scores 6, you will lose a game. So what we need is to make sure that this hard-earned money which has come into the pockets, we allow it to stay. Do you know why we are all gathered here? We are gathered here because our money is still there, isn't it? When we look at the statement, the money is what? It's there. But the question which you have to ask yourself, where did the rest go? Because they took 5%, you took 95. But when we ask you about the 95, say, you leave me alone. But they need to look after that 5% very well. Do you know you might be the most dangerous person to your personal? No, people say, but is our 5%? You show me a statement. Also, you, I'm going to challenge you. Come here and make a presentation on your 95%. The doctor here, professor here took us through. He said, these are the incomes. These are the expenses. Can you make a presentation on yours? Because the 95% is not there. That's why people, as they approach retirement, you look at these meetings with a lot of seriousness. Say, people, is our money there? The way the administrator is looking, she changed the dress. Isn't that our money? Are we on the same page? The point is that this 5% is being looked after. Don't give a hand clap to your leaders. They are looking after it well. But the person I came to speak to is the one who kept the 95. He's the one we need to deal with. Because that's the only person who needs to change decisions. If they don't change decisions, the 5% won't be enough. It will be consumed in 18 months. Are we on the same page? So, This can be an option. By the way, this is a headline in a government newspaper, isn't it? 1,000 civil servants apply to reduce age. That means 60 approaches and you say, you know what, you people? I'm not 60. Deep down, I'm 49. Okay? That's how I feel. Friends, this idea can cross your mind. Your wife was younger than you. When you change age, now you are younger than your wife. Because they think the moment has come, isn't it? When these moments come, you will say, I might have to reduce the what? You go to the human resource department and say, here is a new birth certificate. Me, to be born in 1962? No, I wasn't. I was actually born in 1971. Because you need a bit more what? More time. When you don't defend now, friends, this idea will cross your what? Your mind. So what traps do I want to warn you about? 7 traps. Trap number 1 I want to warn you about is no plan, no budget. Friends, you can't win on money if you choose to say, whatever comes, let it be. I can tell you I'm an accountant by profession. Even as accountants whose job it is to keep budgets of institutions, we don't have personal budgets. That's why the money can't be enough, because it wasn't enough in the beginning. One of the actions I want you to do is this evening. The first line on your budget is this. They take this money off before you get your salary, the 5%, isn't it? I want you to ask, on my budget, aside from the 5% they take away, how much am I saving? That's a question. And we end up living this thing called paycheck to what? To paycheck. Living paycheck to paycheck means you only live for now. You only live for what? For now. And when tomorrow comes, tomorrow's money has already been eaten. Number 2 is this thing called assets versus liabilities. Where exactly is the money going? I want to share with you 3 items. House in the village, asset or liability? House in the village. Pardon? Some people are saying it's a liability. Some people are saying it's a what? Some people are saying that's where I am going to go when I what? When I retire. We need to understand that the purpose of a village house is multiple. Some people say that's where I'll go when I retire. Some people say when my children come for Kwanjula, that's where we will what? Some of us are actually even planning for when we are being buried. So when people come to bury me, at least they need to find a good house, isn't it? So that you don't embarrass your family when you have left. But don't forget that that house has consumed 40 million, isn't it? 40 million could be in the fund here, but it is in a house somewhere in Ntungam, somewhere in Serere, somewhere in Zombo. Are we on the same page? The money is in the what? Is it an asset? Is it a what? I told you I'm an accountant by profession. I will define for you an asset. An asset is very simple. It doesn't matter what it is. As long as something has capacity to generate a cash flow and hold value which is growing, it is a what? An asset. It's that simple. However, the liability is the opposite. So if you are the one who is paying the person who is sleeping in your house, because you know all your village houses, you have to pay the person who sleeps there, isn't it? So how can it be an asset when it is you paying the person who is sleeping in it? Are we on the same page? Actually, if that house was not on top of the hill in Tungamo, but was in Tungamo town, it would change behavior. You might find a tenant, isn't it? Next question. Education for your children, asset or liability? It's an asset, isn't it? We are an academic institution. We know that education is the greatest asset. The question we need to ask is, whose asset is it? Because as parents, this is where we get a bit mixed up, isn't it? We educate the children and we say we have built an asset. Are we on the same page? And those of you accountants who know double entry system, so for those of us who are accountants know that an asset, we have something called a double entry system. If something enters into someone's books as an asset, it can't be in someone else's book as an asset, isn't it? It has to be the opposite. So if you think about education, if the parent thinks it's their asset and the child thinks it's their asset, whose asset is it? Because if it's the child's asset, then it can't be your asset at the same time, isn't it? The education is an asset for the person who gets the certificate, not the person who paid for the what? And I want to tell you this one, you need to appreciate, so that you don't become the parent who gets annoyed that your children are not looking after you. Are we on the same page? That thing called education is one of the biggest challenges in our retirement journey as a country. Many people actually believe that if I educate my children very well, I will retire very what? And I have come to put it to you that that is a very dangerous. Some of you have very good children. They will look after you. But I know some of your children, they are going to disappear. And especially for us mothers, you just get annoyed when the boy gets a wife, isn't it? And you start being annoyed at your what? At your daughter-in-law. So she gets the money and he gets all the money and spends it on his what? But I will put the question to you. If your son is sick and your father is sick, who do you take to hospital first? What's the right thing to do? Have we understood the question? Your son is not a bad man. He's just making the right decision, isn't it? So you may have retired to cover life. We will call us. Say, but daddy, be strong, be strong. There are many leaves which you can cook and you deal with malaria, isn't it? Cook those leaves, cook those leaves. As he takes his son to IHK, isn't it? He's not a bad son. He's just dealing with the what? So you need to understand that, where am I putting my money? Because this is very confusing. Sometimes you find we are doing things which we think are assets. I keep telling people, I know a family which built a house in the village. There were 4 brothers and they built one house. And all the brothers say the same thing. This is my house. So every brother who stands up says, this is my what? My house. But it is one. But I've also seen homesteads where you find 4 houses of the 4 brothers, isn't it? All of them, no one is staying in what? You have to challenge where the money is going right now. Because if it was going into your fund at 13.4%, that's big. But if it goes, and I'm a big fan of education. By the way, not educating your children is equally dangerous, because they will become a liability for real. They will start planning for your death. Have you seen it in the newspapers? Where children are saying, but you old man, why aren't you dying? What are you doing at 80? Are we on the same page? because the only thing they see is your assets. So educating them reduces risk, but it doesn't cause an upset. Are we there? Next one is this thing called the status burden. This is a big one. Please don't get fused with your office. Don't get fused with your office. Don't get fused with your what? With your title. I'm the manager. I'm the officer. I'm the professor. Avoid that temptation. Why shouldn't you fuse with your office? Because when you leave this institution, you will leave the office here. Are we there? So don't let your office get fused with you. Because some of us, there are businesses we can't, investments we can't make because we are professors. How will I be seen associating with chicken? Eh? The professor and the chicken, how do they interact with one another? Huh? What kind of conversation will they have? Are we on the same page? And the title runs you over. Say, but professor, why don't you try chicken? Say, may I try things which are serious? Things which have an academic paper which is backing them up. Watch out. Don't get fused with your what? The next one is this thing of playing God. You taking the position of God in your family. Some people call it black tax. Friends, don't be deceived. You are not God in your family. Don't try to solve all the problems. Some of us are very keen. You are paying school fees for an entire village. We agree with you. But also you need to plan for that time when you want to be able to what? Pay. And don't forget, this is a powerful position. You know, when you start getting money, things happen. Your name changes. Even though you are a young man, they start calling you Muzei. Because you are powerful, isn't it? They say, wait for the man to what? Come. Some of you even have already titles which are tied to you. Don't get fused. Are we on the same page? You are not what? Should you give? Should you share? Yes. But don't say that the only thing I do is to solve the what? These are God's children, not yours. They are who? God's children. Don't take his position. Number 5 is this thing called the gambler what? Mindset. I want you to look at that article. Pensioner loses 100 NSSF cash in online deal. Friends, you are not the only ones who know that you have money in this benefit scheme. We also know. And we are preparing good ideas for you as soon as you get it. And we will withdraw it from what? From you. So I want to challenge you. Avoid this temptation. You see the other article, Ugandans lose 60 billion in football Ponzi scheme. This is something called BLQ. But then some people think that, this is just young people do this. And money what? Now let me explain to you what happens in money. Most of us, when they tell us that you can be able to earn small amounts of money every month, this 12%, 13%, we say, you can earn that money in just 1 week. How many of you had something called capital chicken? You had capital chicken? Capital chicken had a very simple pitch. Put your money in chicken. First month, 25%. Next month, 25%. 4 months, the money has come. Then you keep earning forever. The gambler in you is activated. Say, why am I wasting my money with this benefit scheme? Give me my midterm access. And I put it where it can multiply what? Quickly. Leaders, I want you to check where people took midterm access. Because some of it could have gone to capital chicken. And why? The gambler was activated. Are we on the same page? The gambler was what? Now, each one of us, we have a gambler inside us. Someone which says, one of these days, I will get what? Okay. But this destroys retirement. You run with the patient and slow and consistent. That's what your institution offers you here. There's nothing spectacular. It's a slow process of growing your what? Your money. But I want to tell you, this one is right there. 1,500 Ugandans lose 10 billion in online scam. This one had army generals, had police commanders, had professors. They joined together and gave someone 10 billion. And you know, when we are going for these things, you don't tell people. Just come say, manager, give me my thing. Me, I'm going. Me, I know where I'm taking it. Manager gives you the thing, meets you 3 weeks and say, how is the thing? Say, just leave me alone. Kampala is tough. Just leave me alone. This Uganda is very unfair. It becomes a Ugandan problem, isn't it? Yet you picked it yourself, isn't it? The other one which I want us to watch out for is called economic outpatient. Economic outpatient means looking after your adult children way into their adulthood. The child gets a degree. You pay for a master's what? After a master's degree, you pay for a what? PhD. After a PhD, the child says, I'm ready to get married. You marry them a what? A wife. After they marry them a wife, they have twins. One of them is your name. You start paying school fees for the what? What have you done? You have given the child economic outpatient. Now, for those of us here who have these children in our household, this was your message. I want you to go and tell them it's time to face the world. As a parent, it's very difficult, but you need to allow the child to face the world. Because if they don't, in your retirement, you'll be paying school fees. Are we on the same page? So one of the things you do to plan is to release this group. This is taken from a book called The Millionaire Next Door, written by two guys, someone called Stanley and Danko. I encourage you to read it. Amazing book. This message here is critical because some people, it's not that they don't have enough in retirement, but they have responsibilities of grandchildren, of parents who are alive. It is bad for retirement planning. Final one is debt. Friends, one of the things you can quickly do is to get out of this cycle. In personal finance, the most difficult thing is getting out of debt. Most difficult. Other things are simple. Saving is simple. I'll talk about it in a moment. But the most difficult is getting out of debt. And debt does not start with the bank. Debt starts with family and friends. Then it moves on to workplace colleagues. Are we there? Why is debt a problem? Because debt allows you to live a lifestyle which is not yours. If you live beyond your means, debt is what fills the what? The gap. And friends, as we plan for retirement, as you plan to increase your savings, I want you to have an active plan. Get out of what? Debt. Because if it doesn't exist, I can tell you that when NSSF surveyed what people do with their fund, in the top 5 reasons was repayment of what? It means you save the money, but what it does actually is it repays what? Debt. And that's a painful thing. We can have a long conversation on this, but it's important that you touch on that and you say, this I am not going I like this quote. The rich rule over the poor and the borrower is what? How do you release yourself? Say, every time you borrow, a master-slave relationship is created. Doesn't matter who you borrow from. If you borrow from your father-in-law, he becomes master, you become what? Slave. So you need to have this migration. So let me close with posing a way forward. And I was advised that I might have to mix the language a bit. But what I'm going to do is I'll close and then I will say a few things. This is my proposal. My proposal is called the Masiga model. That from this session, you could decide that you approach your personal finances using this thing called the Masiga model. Masiga is cooking stones. How many cooking stones are there usually? Can you cook on 2? Can you cook on 1? What if 1 is big and 2 are small? Can you cook? All the stones have to be of equal size. Are we on the same page? And what I want you to notice is that one of the problems of our food we have been cooking is that the saving stone has been very what? Very tiny. The spending stone is very what? The giving stone is also relatively big. The food is not what? Cooking. So what we are trying to say is that these 3 things need to happen simultaneously. You don't say that I will start next time. I'm going to ask you, just ask a couple of things of you. Some actions I want you to consider taking. The first action I want you to consider taking is expanding the saving stone. Because usually it is very what? It's very small. Most of us, the stone is, if actually they removed 5%, which they put in this fund, that stone could completely disappear. Are we on the same page? So I'm challenging you that how do we make that stone bigger? And some people say that you don't understand. I have so many expenses. I can't be able to what? To save. I want to give you what we call the 2-letter test. The 2-letter test is very simple. Assuming just after this meeting, you are invited by the university secretary. And the university secretary says, welcome in, sir. Thank you for coming in my office. I have 2 letters in front of me. One is a red letter, one is a blue letter. In the blue letter is an offer of half your salary. You have been getting 1 million, I'm giving you 500. In the red letter is your termination letter. Today is your last day of work. Which letter do you sign today? Tell your neighbor that me, this is the letter I signed. As your neighbor told you. If your neighbor said, I signed the red letter, please put up your hand. Huh? You see the red letters? There are some people who have been looking for an opportunity to leave this institution and they haven't got it, isn't it? And they say, if you insult me with half my salary, me, I what? I go. And they exist, they are amongst you. But from the response, it appears the majority of us would sign the what? The blue letter. You could even walk out of the walk out of the university secretary's office and you call your spouse and say, God has been good to us. I have been offered half my what? My salary. Then your wife will say, but you have gone mad. Why are you celebrating? Have say, wait, I was about to come home. I've been using this example for close to about 12 years now. In the last 5 years, we have had COVID-19. We have had restructuring. Most recently, 3 weeks ago, we had Yusuf. A new president came and changed the thing. Most people didn't even know that elections were happening in the what? In the US. But when this offer is given, I tell you the majority of us say, thank God for half the salary. My question to you is, how do you say that you can receive half the salary when the university secretary tells you, but you say you can't save? Have you understood my question? Because the university secretary has given you half, you will organize yourself, isn't it? Why do you say that you can organize yourself with half, but you can't organize yourself on your own terms, isn't it? Because what I came to ask you, I came to say that assuming the letter came, what would you do? Most of us would change some things, isn't it? Immediately. During COVID, things happened. Men became very active in the kitchen during COVID. Find a man in the kitchen, he picks up an onion, says, who cut this onion? Who cut this onion? How do you cut an onion and you don't finish it, isn't it? Because we knew that an onion had to cook 3 meals. A half later had what? So I am submitting to you that there is no one in the room who can say, I can't save a little what? Are we on the same page? None. All of us can save a little what? A little more. So let me make my ask. My ask is very simple. My first ask is going to be, it doesn't have to be big. Just a drop. Just a drop. It doesn't have to be very big. It's just a what? Just a drop. That's my challenge to you. And there are 2 places I want you to consider saving. The first place I want you to consider saving is going to be in your what? Your fund. I'll talk about it in a moment. The second place I'm going to ask you to consider saving is I'm going to ask you to consider saving money for an emergency. Experts tell us that we should have 3 to 6 months of our salary in an emergency what? Fund. However, I'm going to challenge you to have 1 month of your salary in an emergency what? Fund. Those are my 2 asks. 1 month of your what? Your salary. Let me explain 1 month to you. 1 month of your salary is saying that if I lost my job today, I have at least 1 month to organize my what? Myself. And most people say it's impossible, but I will tell you that actually emergencies hurt people who are higher up in the value chain more than they hurt people who are lower down. The people who say that, oh, these are the people who hold the lower level jobs, they take emergencies much better. The people at the top, emergencies are crazy. They are real chaotic. So, let me share. The pennies count. So, 1, prepare your family for what? For retirement. It means tell them that one of these days I am going to what? to retire. 2, work on a what? A will. Why do you work on a will? Because even if you have nothing, we are going to fight for it. Are we on the same page? Even if you have nothing, for us who are staying, we are going to what? So solve the problem for us. We are going to fight anyway. We seem like we are sober, we seem like we like each other, but should you die, we are going to fight for your property. And for those of us who have multiple families, it's even more chaotic. So work on those 2. My first ask was maximize your retirement what? Benefit. After my session, I'm going to request someone from the scheme to just come and explain this to you. But it's very simple. I want you to say they take 5%. I am going to add 5% on my own. Voluntarily. I'm going to add what? They have been taking 5%. I'm going to volunteer to add what? What have you done? You have accelerated your retirement fund. I'm going to add 5%. I'm going to add 3%. That's my request to you. That's the action I want you to consider. You saw on your list when they were presenting, voluntary scheme was quite low. Yet you are a very big what? Fund. This evening you may forget everything. But I can bet you that if you make that decision, 10 years from now, you say, I'm glad I made that decision. Because I tell you, your life is not going to change because you have added 5%. Nothing fundamentally what? Changes. But what will happen is that you will double what you are going to get in the 10 years. I was sitting next to my brother. He told me he's retiring in 6 years. When he said 6 years, for me, this was my message to him. Increase it now. Give it 6 years. You'll be fascinated at what it does. That's your action. Say, I've added 5%. Second action, I'm going to request. I don't know whether you saw all these people. All these fellows here were in the people who were listed. Where you are investing the scheme what? The scheme money. ISAIA, UAP, all of them. That's where you put your money. But why I brought this is my second request. My second request is this thing called an emergency fund. And by the way, a SACCO can work as perfectly. But what I want you to open is a fund of 1 paycheck. 1 what? 1 month of your salary. Be in a, you put in a unit trust. If you belong to a SACCO, put it in your what? In your SACCO. It is an emergency fund. Let me explain to you what it means. What this means is that when you borrow, if you get a crisis today, let's say you lose your job, you have 1 month. But let me explain it to you another way. Many of us, every salary we have gotten thinks that it is the first. Because when it comes to the account, there is no evidence that there was another salary on the what? On the account, isn't it? So every salary which comes, it believes it is number what? Number 1. So what I'm saying is that allow the salary of January to meet what? February. Then the salary of February to meet March. When you do that, you take away the biggest risk in your finances right now, emergencies. Why people go to money lenders is because they have to go to money lenders. The child has broken a leg. What do? You have to go to the money lender. Never if you build the emergency, and it's not a simple thing to build. It could take you 6 months, even a year to build. But once you have it, you push chaos and crisis away from you. Those were my two asks for today. One, squeeze all the value out of your what? Your fund. Your action which you need to make is to say, I will put in a little. But secondly, also create a what? An emergency fund. So let me close with this story. How many of us here in the room, you can walk to Ginger now? Put up. There are 2 hands. 3 hands. Those are the people, I don't know the people online, whether they can walk to Ginger. However, let me change the story. Assuming we are seated here, we are in Yusuf, Lule, CTF. You see the blocks of apartments outside there? We hear a big boom. They explode. You think it's a joke? Boom. PRC. What? How many stay in the room doing this lecture? We all run out, isn't it? When we run out, we ask what has happened. They tell us rebels have put a big gun in Wandegea, rather in the roundabout of Waise. They are bombing every what? Building. The UPDF has protected that beautiful bridge. You know that beautiful bridge in Ginger? The UPDF has protected that beautiful bridge. If you walk and you cross over to the other side, to Ginger, you are safe, isn't it? However, if you can't walk to Ginger, you are on your own with the what? With the rebels. At that point, how many of us can walk to Ginger? How many can walk to Ginger? Be honest. I believe that when the bomb goes off, all of us in this room, we will walk to Ginger, isn't it? Even our colleagues who are 65, we say, hey, you are with us. Say, no, me, when I was young, I used to walk a lot. I had a lot of energy, isn't it? All of us would walk to Ginger when the bomb goes off. Now, what's the message? The message is very simple. Don't wait for the bomb. The message is what? Don't wait for the what? I came to just deliver that simple message. That start walking to Ginger right now. Is it simple? No. Is it strenuous? Yes. But walk to Ginger on your own what? Terms. If in this room you decide that today I am going, my action of walking to Ginger is to increase my voluntary saving by what? 5%. It's walking to Ginger, isn't it? But you haven't walked to Ginger when the bomb of retirement, what? Explodes. You are walking to Ginger. By the time the bomb goes off, you have already arrived. So that's my challenge to you. It isn't for a lack of opportunity. I could have come here and talked about the many businesses you could do, and possibly I'll have another chance to come and talk about it. But my challenge to you is to say, walk to Ginger and walk to Ginger on your own terms. Because friends, the bomb will explode. One of these days, I feel like I was in Makerere recently. I went to an institution a couple of days ago to do a session. And the HR at the institution, I said, what's the average age of the people in the institution? Said the average age is 32. Said, interesting. Said, we have the young ones who are 25, and we have the old ones who are over 40. I have never felt so old. I said, me, I'm just over 40. What do you mean I'm the old one? But that's what I am. In her eyes, I was the oldest person in this country as to what? And yet, I feel like I was in Makerere recently. 20 years.